Now we are proud to continue this morning's program with someone who has also shaped the political landscape in extraordinary ways. I am honored to welcome someone whose work exemplifies the mission of the National's Women's Political Caucus to recruit, train, and elect more women to public office at every level. Senator Butler, Laphonza Butler, is a leader who needs no introduction. She has devoted her life to building power for working people, women, and communities of color. As a longtime labor organizer, she led SEIU Local 2015, the largest union in California, advocating for more than 325,000 home care workers, most of them women of color. She then, through her leadership as the national president of Emily's List, where she helped advance the pipeline of pro-choice Democratic women seeking office across the country. As someone who's been endorsed by Emily's List, I thank you, Senator. And of course, in 2023, she made history as the first openly Black lesbian to serve in the United States Senate. Through every chapter of her career, Laphonza, and I'm going to call her Senator Laphonza, has been guided by values we all share: equity, access, and the belief that democracy works best when it truly reflects the people it serves. Please join me in welcoming Senator Laphonza Butler to the stage so we can have a fireside chat. I'm so glad you were able to come to California to be with us today. And just so you know, Senator Butler and I are Jackson State University Tigers, whoop whoop. So when I emailed her to say, I would really love for you to come to our convention, I had to throw that in. And she said, I'll do anything for a Tiger. So I appreciate her being here with us this morning. But I first want to talk to you, Senator, about leadership and legacy. You've held leadership roles in labor, advocacy, and electoral politics. What through line has connected you to all of the work that you do?
First, let me just say good morning. Did I see you in the gym this morning?
Yeah,
I know I saw you in the gym.
I told you it was Dawn.
It is such a pleasure for me to be here and to be able to spend time with the National Women's Political Caucus. You know, when you have Ellen Malcolm as the founder of Emily's List and a long time and very early organizer in the National Women's Political Caucus, you learn so much history about the different organizations and the roles that they played together, working together over time, and to be invited by a fellow Tiger to join you all this morning was really a pleasure. You know, you asked a question about what's the through line for me, and it really, if I were being completely honest, for me, it really has been my mom. I grew up in a small town in Mississippi, and I saw my mother work tirelessly to make sure that me and my two brothers had an opportunity to do better than she. And I saw her be my father's home care worker. Who my father died when I was 15 years old. He had heart disease as long as I can remember. And my mother went to work every single day. Sometimes she worked 3 jobs in one day to make sure that my father had the care that he needed. My brothers and I had the love and support that we needed. And often as an adult, I find myself looking back wondering, did she have the love that she needed? Yeah. And so what has been the through line for me is working on behalf of women like my mom, whether they were home care workers or nursing home workers or security officers or state of California workers. It has been the opportunity, having the opportunity to give them the gift that I was unsure that my mom had. She didn't have health insurance until she was 60 years old. My word. And with the passage of the Affordable Care Act. I had learned to navigate the sort of healthcare system as we were undergoing the biggest transformation in healthcare delivery, because I was intent on making sure that my mom had a health plan that me and my two brothers could afford for her. And so that really has been the through line. It has been making sure that women like her, who every day were inspiring little girls like me, who were showing their sons and their daughters that tomorrow can be better, that has really inspired everything that I've done in my career and inspired me to push past my own fear of taking on those kinds of opportunities.
Senator, how did your experience in the labor movement shape your approach to leadership and coalition building in politics?
It's a really good question, and it is, it's interesting. When I was in the Senate, I was asked of some form of this question quite a bit. How does being in the labor movement inform your work here in the Senate, or how does? When I was the president of Emily's List, why would somebody from the labor movement join and become the president of Emily's List? And for me, everything is an opportunity to organize. And when you think about organizing as acknowledging that everyday people are indeed extraordinary when they choose to do things together, then you understand how the connection very clearly. Everyday women who were choosing, whether they were teachers or nurses or lawyers or businesswomen, choosing to run for office, that's not something that you do by yourself. As much as it may be one person's name on the door or one person's name on the billboard, that is a team sport. That is an effort that we all know takes real community organizing. And the labor movement, women in this state taught me the value of listening and finding common ground. Workers who taught me that sacrifice, not just for themselves, but for others, would indeed pay off for them. And I was able to sort of carry those lessons forward, the value of listening and searching for common ground, seeing the humanity in others. That's what organizing is. And knowing that every person I was able to engage had the power to make a difference.
Senator, do you think you got your work ethic from your mom?
I don't know. I'm not as hardworking as she is.
Okay.
I'm not as hardworking. 3 jobs in one day, and I remember seeing her do this. I don't know that I could pull that off.
Yeah.
But I know what she showed me was that everything costs something.
Yeah.
Right, and even when we are all in rooms like these, or find ourselves, with the opportunity to have the mic in our hands, somebody paid for us to get there.
That's right.
Whether they paid by working 3 jobs, they paid by being the first black woman to sit in the United States Senate. They paid by taking the vitriol and abuse online by being the first black woman vice president of the United States. There is a cost that comes along with the things that we must do to move forward. And I think that's what my mom most showed me, is that whatever it is that you want in life, be willing to pay the cost.
Beautiful. You've broken barriers, Senator, in many spaces. What has that experience taught you about how we build inclusive power, and what more needs to be done?
It's an interesting question as we are sort of navigating the spaces that Comptroller Ma talked with us about, the state of our immigrant brothers and sisters and the constant fear that they are living in, the anti-Semitism that is rampant, the anti-Muslim sentiment that is breaking into our communities at the pace and scale and breadth that we had thought was far behind us, the anti-blackness that shows up every single day in all of the ways that we all experience it and see it. And so I think about inclusion in this moment, as so many of those communities and so many of our communities are going through such pain, is a tough one, as a tough prescription to write.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like any experience that I've had prepares me to offer any particular prescription in response to the question. I would just say some of the best moments of leadership that I've had have been when I was listening and participating. When I was in a room full of home care workers where 8 different languages were being spoken at the same time through simultaneous translation, and everyone had an opportunity to have their voice heard and know that their voice mattered. When the stories of home care workers that I worked for, had the honor of working for, they were talking about their experience, whether it was coming to this country from Mexico or their family coming here from China or Armenia or Laos. Name the country. California really is the place where the most of those families exist outside their native country. The most Armenians live in California than outside of Armenia. That is true for China, that for the Chinese community, that is true for the Korean community, that is true for so many communities, and I had the honor of representing all of them in one organization. And so what those women and men taught me in preparation for the unanticipated moment that we're in is to never allow my voice to be a voice that is used to dehumanize anyone. You know, when I was I was sworn into the Senate on October 3rd, on a Tuesday. And the following Saturday was the Hamas attack on Israel. There was so much turmoil and pain and suffering and all in every direction, And I was pushed to declare who I thought was right, or declare who I thought should have the right to exist. And I took it. There was a lot of people who wanted me to have the opinion that they had, and I just would never allow my voice to be used to dehumanize anyone. And I think in this moment we all have that opportunity to be thoughtful about how we use our voice and our lived experience and that of our family history to ensure that we are honoring those who have come before us, to not allow our voice to dehumanize others. That's what we can do in this moment. That surely is not what is happening from the White House. And we have an opportunity to reflect something different.
Senator, that sounds like a call to action, right? As someone who's helped recruit and support women candidates through Emily's List, what do you think are the biggest challenges and opportunities facing women running for office today?
It remains money, no doubt.
Okay.
That has not changed. The cost of running an election has skyrocketed. The money in our political system is obscene. And even when Emily's List was founded 40 years ago, I can remember Ellen Malcolm talking to me about the Barbara Mikulski race, the first Senate race that Emily's List really dug in and leaned forward into, and the election of Barbara Mikulski from Maryland. The whole race cost less than $2 million. The whole race cost less than $2 million. Raphael Warnock in Georgia raised $80 million. Had to raise $80 million. And so it is when we say to our young people, they themselves can be leaders, they themselves can run for office and be the council person or the next mayor in their town, and we're saying to women that they just got to put their name in the hat. We are lying.
Yeah. Right? Yeah.
It is more than just putting your name in a hat. And the Betty Yee here knows as candidate for governor, there is a lot of money to be raised, particularly in a state as expensive as California. The biggest barrier remains money. The biggest opportunity is our connection in organizations like these and Emily's List and the careers that we've had in the past. The way that we raise the money necessary is to pull on those networks. And the theory of Emily's List has always been the name Emily, right? Early money is like yeast.
Yeah.
The way that we get that early money is through these networks. It's through those the old coworkers that we had, our friends and family that we can reach out to. But we should be honest with our next generation of leaders and those who are running that money remains the biggest barrier, and the advent of technology and the deployment of artificial intelligence and mis and disinformation is going to be the hardest obstacle to overcome. You can raise the money, and the obstacle of the fast pace of technology and how you can go from being, a PTA church-going, soccer mom one day as who you are, and have the internet and TikTok and everybody else make you the devil incarnate in 60 seconds.
Yeah.
And so being thoughtful about our social media presence and engagement is real. And we have to, I think, as the middle rung of the ladder, those of us who've been around for a little while, we have to make sure that we are reminding our young leaders of those kinds of challenges, and they have to be thoughtful about that. We will help them raise the money. We can't account for what they put on social media 5 years ago.
And that's the challenge. That's a real challenge, Senator. You've helped build the pipeline for pro-choice women candidates across the country. What advice would you give to women thinking about running but who aren't sure that they're ready?
My answer to this question has changed. I used to have a very quick, Betty, just do it response that was real flip and uninformed. And now that I have been in the role, I have come to realize that there is no flip response or advice that you can give to someone who is making that kind of sacrifice. Public service from 20 years ago is very different public service than it is today. The day that I was appointed to the United States Senate, I had a neighbor in Maryland calling the police because there were 3 cars that had never been on my block sitting in front of my house. Both my Maryland home and my Los Angeles home were swatted in the first 6 months of office. I had my daughter who's about to turn 11, she was 9 at the time. I had there was a family at her school who wanted to have a conversation with her about what I voted on in the United States Senate. It is very different.
Yeah.
To be in public service now than it was just 10 years ago. And so what I would offer in a more thoughtful response to any person who is thinking about running for office, what I will offer by way of advice is to know how much you're willing to pay for the service you want to offer. Because it will cost you. Not just to run the race, but to actually do the job will cost you. That being said, it is some of the most satisfying work that I've ever done in my life. To be able to travel the state of California and talk to young people about how to restore their hope in government. To have a young man in just outside of Fresno talk to me about how in a week he was going to be homeless and in 2 weeks he was going to be graduating from high school. But to know that I had the ability to help, to meet him in that moment, to do something, to change the trajectory of his life, it is some of the most satisfying work that I have ever done and would invite anyone else to do. And it will cost.
And Senator, the sacrifice is just not a sacrifice for you. It's a sacrifice for your family. As a former elected official, I would have to tell my sons all the time, you cannot fight everybody that talks about your mama. Okay? They do not know your mama. So it's okay, but it is a sacrifice for your family.
Look, my daughter did not care that I was a United States Senator. She could not have cared less. She could not have cared less. I was going to be sworn in. My mother had come. My wife was there. The vice president was swearing me in. And my daughter had known the vice president. We were all here in California, and she was the attorney general. So to her, she was just Miss Kamala. And it was a big deal. And we thought it was a big deal. To her, she had the choice of going to the swearing in or going on her third grade camping trip for the first time when the parents didn't have to go. And in every picture that you see me being sworn in, you notice who is not there. She went camping. So to bring a little levity, but also to just acknowledge, like, our families are very much in this with us, man or woman, our husband or wife, our families are very much in this with us. There are moments of great joy and pride. And when the vice president invited Nyla to come to the vice president's residence to have a swimming party with some other kids, it was a moment of great pride. And she did not care
that it was the vice president.
She was not missing the camping trip.
I love it. Senator, in this moment of political and cultural backlash against reproductive rights, LGBTQ plus communities, and racial justice, what gives you hope?
I've learned to to recognize that the power of the words that we share, and we put it into the atmosphere and the universe, and there's so many trappings in this moment that would invite us to just perpetuate the negativity, to be so distracted by our despair that we lose sight of what's possible. And so for me, I actually try very hard every day to find hope and positivity. And I do that in people. Because there are those who would have us believe that we are each other's enemy. That if I have, that means you don't. That if I get a job, that means you're not going to get a job. And I just reject that as a premise. That it is because I have a job that I know that I can help you get a job. It is because I, was able to find a way to get into college that I know that there's a way for you to find a career path that works best for you. It is because we have achieved things together that I know that together again is possible. And so I I choose to find hope every single day by making sure that I'm talking to at least one person for 20 minutes that is 20 years younger than me.
I love it.
Primarily because the politics and government that they have experienced their entire lives has never worked. Think about that. Has never worked. Even when we were making progress on the edges, the government of their mind has failed them. President Biden's administration did a great job on infrastructure bills and the CHIPS Act and all the things that will take 20 years to come to fruition. And so I spend at least 20 minutes every day talking to a person that's 20 years younger than me, so I can hear their point of view, and also so that I can offer them an experience that's different than what they have experienced.
Are they receptive?
When you are not preachy.
Okay.
We're
keeping it real.
When you're not preachy.
We're keeping it real, yeah.
When you're not preachy, like when you don't assume that your experience is the experience.
Right.
Or when you don't try to remind them that somebody died for them to go to art. Like nobody wants to be victimized into going to vote, you know? And so I think when I can remind myself that 20 years ago I was them, and remind myself how I would have wanted to be engaged, then yeah, they're more than receptive. They are energized, they are creative, and they want to be a part of finding a solution. But on the days that I am not my best, and we all have those days.
We do.
On the days when I am not my best, I can walk away from a conversation knowing that I didn't get that one quite right. I wasn't listening well enough in that conversation. But look, I think the generations that are coming into leadership in this moment are fundamentally going to change the course of this country. We just have to get out of the way and let them do it.
Let them do it. Get out of the way. What's your vision, Senator, for what progressive women's leadership can look like 5 or 10 years from now?
Way younger.
Yeah.
I'm just being really. I lived the United States Senate for 16 months, and I gotta say it was probably one of my biggest takeaways was that the progressive leadership in the women in particular, but I had such expectation of the women senators when I got to the Senate, because I had just come from Emily's List.
Yeah.
And I would hear these stories about how they would all get together for dinner, and Dianne Feinstein and Patty Murray would have everybody together, and it was the Democratic women and the Republican women, and Susan Collins and Lisa, everybody would get together. And I have said to Patty Murray, did y'all stop just because I came? Because that wasn't my experience. It wasn't my experience. And so my vision for the future of progressive women's leadership is one that is inviting of different generations of thought and experience. It is a vision that is reflective of the communities that we all come from and have lived in and worked in our entire lives. It is a vision that is that desires a boldness and audacity and a humanity in how we approach and engage both people who think like us and those who don't. And it is a vision where we are not simply counting the firsts, but that we are normalizing our belonging.
Final question for you today, Senator. What's next for you? And how can we support and stay in partnership with your work?
I have no idea. I say that with a little bit of jest, but also with just absolute honesty. I didn't know that I was going to move to Washington and become the president of Emily's List. I didn't know at the time when I was in Maryland that I was going to have the opportunity to move to California, a state that I had only traveled to and visited, and become the president of the largest union in the state, the second largest in the country. I had no idea that Governor Newsom would value those experiences and believe that I could offer something to the state that had given me so much. So I have learned to be comfortable in not knowing. It has done me right so far. So I don't know for certain what I am going to be doing. I know that I have a lot of curiosities. I know that I have a lot of experience. I know that I have been given a lot of gifts, mostly from folks who have poured into me from this great state. And I know that I owe so much for what others have given me. And after that, we'll figure it out together.
Have y'all enjoyed this? I so have enjoyed it, Senator. So I just want to let everybody know the way I connected with Senator Butler is through someone who was an intern for me at my agency. And she went on to do great things in Washington, D.C. She actually had an opportunity to work with Senator Butler at Emily's List. And I emailed her and I said, hey, I need to connect. And she connected us. And so relationships are important and they matter. I realize more than ever that I learned that she was a Tiger and that she was from Mississippi, that I had to have her come here. So I've only given the President's Award to our former NWCP President, Donna Lent, who is here. Donna, stand up. Is Donna here? Of course she would step out. Donna Lent. And then I've also given the President's Award to Congresswoman Eleanor Holmes Norton when we were in D.C. last summer. And she's one of our founders of NWPC. Yeah. And it is my honor, Senator, to give you a President's Award for your service to this country.